Hey, Chewie, can you say Judith Collins' names 3 times for me, please?
Judith Collins, Judith Collins, Judith Collins. Ah! I knew it was coming, but still. It's the eyebrows. Those eyebrows just stare into my soul.
This
Do we
is
like it when
interesting.
she smiles, or is it worse?
Is that what that is? Is that a smile?
Kind of.
Is that what you're looking at? I don't know if it is or if it isn't. A pretty big news story out today, talking about Crown CEOs, people looking after Crown entities, that sort of thing, getting a massive pay increase. Papers were listing like from 90,000, which is a pretty good wicket. It's not massively wealthy, but it's a pretty good wicket, to 162,000. Now, I only tell you that to premise this conversation because she says about 400 times. Some of them were only earning $40,000. Yeah. But other ones were earning $90,000 and they just jumped to $162,000. Now, most of the time, I think most of us would say we want our public servants to actually get paid what they're worth. We need to pay good money and attract good people. The problem is this government is cutting and firing people and saying we can't afford and saying things like you can't have the nice to haves at the moment, and then just off the cuff, no warning, no notice, increases the pay of a bunch of these Crown entities, CEOs, significantly, up to 80% on top. So it's a fair question to be like, what the hell are you doing? How can you find this money? Where has it come from? Part one of this conversation. And then, of course, as I said earlier, I was very excited to see Judith on the interwebs this morning having an interview because, of course, the biggest story in New Zealand at the moment that comes around Judith Collins is, as Attorney General, her telling her government that they will be in breach of the Bill of Rights if they stop same-day registration for the election. Here's something I thought of last night, Chewie, after I finished the show, and I tweeted it out today. Attorney General Judith Collins says that if you do this, national government colleagues, it will be a breach of the Bill of Rights. And then what happens? MP Judith Collins votes for it. Attorney General says it's a breach of human rights, it's a breach of the Bill of Rights. And then MP Judith Collins will vote for it. Just let that settle for a second. The person who's alerted the country to this change being a breach of the Bill of Rights will then go, tick, I'll put my name on that, after she's just alerted the country that it's a breach of the Bill of Rights. So I was excited about seeing her talk to Ryan Bridge. I wanted to know about all these things around that big story. And guess what? They did not mention it once. The story about the CEO's increase is a worthy story to look at. It's not the most important thing to be talking to Judith Collins about today. So let's have a look at the part of the conversation that they did want to talk about.
Good to have you on the show. Can I start first with this story from the Herald? This is about the increases, your public services minister, the increases to the amount that members of boards or chairs of boards will be paid if they're on running government agencies. Why now? Why are we doing this? And some of them up to 80% from what I can understand.
Well, some of them are also at the moment paid $40,000 a year.
Yes, and others are paid 90 and they're going to 162. That's what the article said.
Do a job that is critical for delivery of public services to the New Zealand public. So there, in fact, in many cases, people would be shocked to know how little many of these people are paid. And the comparable role in those cases in the private sector would be around 70,000. So there are some, obviously, entities where they're involved in and responsible for billions of dollars of taxpayer dollars, and also delivery of services, whether it's the blood service, it's ACC, or the Crown Research Institute's TVNZ. These are entities where you actually want people who know what they're doing.
Do you think the board chair at TVNZ getting $40,000, Chewie?
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably
Just saying.
getting for families tax credits and stuff as well.
I'm just saying this is a little bit like some families will get up to $250 a fortnight. How many? Well, some will. Just like some chairs are only on $40,000. Yeah. What are other ones on?
Not people who are just somebody who's willing to do a job which could take an awful lot of time and experience for, say, $30,000.
Is that what's happening now?
Oh, it just dropped by 10 grand. Did you notice that? I don't know what happened because some were only earning $40,000 and now she said $30,000. Do I have 20? Do I have 20? I'm down the back road. Do I have $20,000? We shall see.
Yeah. So basically, I heard Chris Hipkins on before. I mean, he used to be at this role, public service minister. He should know the facts. Many of these people are paid basically to travel to Wellington to do the job, go home, and they miss out on all the work that they should be doing, their own businesses, but also we need experienced people. This is not a time.
So there are people in general who don't do this full time. It's more than a stipend. It's less than a salary. Everything's paid for. I mean, I don't mean Chewie for you to throw up in the back of your mouth, but think Sonny Cashel. It's something that they're not doing permanently. It's not their full-time job. They get paid for the time they're doing. And when she says some are only earning $40,000, what I want to know, Judith, is that for one day a week? What are we talking here? Because she's just said they travel to Wellington, and they can't participate in like their own business. So let's say they're dentists. So they can't do dental work for Monday and Tuesday because they're in Wellington doing these board chairs. And then they go back and they do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now, I'm not about paying people less. I have a philosophy in my life of paying people as much as you can, not as little as you can get away with. But I just want to bring it back to this idea that this government is cutting, is firing, is eliminating stuff, is not building houses, is not spending money anywhere. But they've found money to do this. Coming from the same woman who, when talking about buying some new helicopters, quote, the money will be found because the money has to be found. It feels like another one of those, Judith. The money will be found this time because I want the money to be found is more what it feels like.
Time to be silly about it. It's about 10 years since they had a decent pay increase. 2 or 3 years ago, they got a 10% increase because even under Labour, they couldn't get people to do the job. And we need to make sure we've got some options.
How many on our boards currently shouldn't be there?
Oh, I think there's probably quite a bit of reshuffling going to go on. Obviously, I'm talking to other ministers, and as the public service minister, I'm often involved in those discussions. We simply cannot afford to keep treating some of these services as though it's nice to have. I mean, I was pretty shocked to find that large numbers of the public service now and their senior leadership teams in ministries, government agencies and departments do not have a financial controller on their senior leadership team. So I have sent a letter out to ministers about this. I have also had the public service has contacted the chief executives and said this pathetic ignoring of the finances must stop. This is something that...
I mean, if what she's saying is we definitely need to have financial experts on every board, I agree with that. I mean, that's a good thing to have. I think Ryan's about to ask a semi-good question, Chewie. He wants to know about the nurses' pay, and then, of course, what happens after that is Judith lies about how much nurses get paid, which we've had squashed several times.
We never used to have, but what we've got now is there's been an awful lot of feelings, a lot of wokeisms, and a hell of a lot of delivery that hasn't been delivered.
And yet you're about to pay everyone at the top a lot more.
Well, how can you say a chairman of a board at the moment getting $40,000 is highly paid?
How we can say, Judith, is you first explaining how much work is that. This is the adage. Remember, people, we've done this.
Give us an example.
We don't talk about how much is being spent. What we want to focus on is what are we getting for it. And if it's $40,000 for a chair of a board who works one day a fortnight, that seems to be a pretty good wicket. If it's someone who's working 4 days a week away from home in Wellington, yeah, I agree, not enough. So the details is what we need to know whether what you're saying is of worthy of concern, or is for some reason you guys all of a sudden doing this all over again.
Look, the money will be found because it has to be found.
You know, is it just that again? I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, being a
How
chair,
can you
I've been
But
in these
to be
roles.
fair-
I know how hard they are.
To be fair,
You've gotta-
how can you sit there and say that when you're offering the nurses less than inflation?
Well, nurses now, of course, highly valued. They're getting on
Are they?
average, from memory, it's around about $110,000.
Your memory fails you, Judith. Or if what you're saying from memory to what other people in my cabinet have said, that's fair enough. You can remember that, but it's not accurate what you're saying.
A year. Plus, there's other things like, various other benefits that they get from it. But you're talking about these board chairs, in some cases, are responsible for millions or even billions of dollars. And actually, this is really important that we get this right. When I look at some of these board
Nurses are responsible for dozens of lives. That doesn't rate, though, as much as millions of dollars or billions of dollars, dozens of lives. I would think that's comparable.
roles, I think it takes someone who really wants to give up an awful lot of time and their own money to take these roles on. And it's not just that. We need people who know what they're doing, highly experienced.
All right.
I look at something like Kāinga Ora, the housing portfolio. We've got someone in there now knows.
Chewie, you'll be surprised. This is a great point by Ryan. It's a great point because the person from Kāinga Ora was put in place under the old salaries, and they're a great person. She's about to say, great person, but they were employed under the old schedule, and now they're getting a pay increase. So they didn't need this money to be a great person working there, did they?
People who know what they're doing, highly experienced.
All right.
I look at something like Kāinga Ora, the housing portfolio. We've got someone in there now knows what they're doing, total turnaround. And by the way, we cannot afford to go into billions of dollars of debt on all these entities.
Yeah, but you got that person for the cheaper rate, right?
There you go.
Well, the thing is that you still have to. No, we often have to get the higher rates for things because we've been getting more and more people saying, "Look, I won't do the job."
But hang on, address the point. You're saying we need to pay people more to get the quality for the job. Like, for example, the guy or woman, not sure who it is, probably at Kāinga Ora, to which Brian points out, but you didn't have to pay more to get them. You got them under the cheaper rate, and you're saying they're fantastic. And your response to that is ibbity.
That person for the cheaper rate, right?
Well, the thing is that you still have to. No, we often have to get the higher rates for things because we've been getting more and more people saying, "Look, I won't do the job for that because I'm having to give up another role to have the time to do it." And that's the other thing. So you do need to be competitive, but at the same time, if you're a very busy, very good and competent chair or experienced director, you've really got to want to help the country to do these jobs.
Oh my God. I hopefully haven't put everybody to
Jesus.
sleep. There was something about that. I think maybe she was just out of bed. That were maybe her morning pearls she was wearing. But it didn't. It's just easy. The two things, Chewie, that you're welcome to obviously respond to now. One is this idea about paying people. I have no problems with paying people more. Like I don't. I really genuinely don't. I want to see our public servants remunerated handsomely. But if you're cutting everything, and you're cutting back on backroom staff, which means the frontline people have to actually do more work, all to save money, then the people you've got now running these boards, like the person at Kāinga Ora, who you admit is perfect and they're turning the place around, all of a sudden just get loaded with another pay increase on top of up to 80%, right? That's nearly double. We get to ask the question, what are we getting for that? This person, this amorphous person on $40,000, how many days a week or a month are they working? What are we getting for our $40,000? You tell us that. If it's, I think I saw one go past in the chat, and I think it starred, so we'll go back to it. Says some of these board chairs work a day a month. I mean, if that was the case, you'd have Christmas off, I'm assuming. So for 11 days work, 40 grand sounds pretty amazing, So we need the details. Chewie.
This is where you get caught up with a good politician or an experienced politician. There is truth in what she's saying, which I think is exactly what you're saying there, Pat. You know, someone with responsibility over a big budget or a big portfolio, or a big board, whatever. Yes, if you're going to attract quality, you have to at least take a run at what they could get in the public sector. In the private sector. But again, it's the optics. At the same time that they're telling the police that they can't get their pay request, at the same time that they're giving
Doctors.
1% to teachers. Literally the day before the nurses go on strike for their pay round, the same time that they're telling early childhood teachers that their pay equity thing has been flushed. You turn around and you go, oh, well, we have to pay to get good people. You have to show some compensation for people that want to help the country. And at the same time, as part of the government that has literally borrowed to give directly to landlords, she goes, oh, well, you can't borrow billions just to do this. But you are. All of these things that you've been talking about, Judith, are not siloed. They are part of your government. And it is very clear that the people at the top get more and the workers get 5/10 of fuck all. This is unsustainable.
I know we've talked about this a dozen times, and we've had people far more informed than us talking about it, but this whole $110,000 for nurses, here is the nurses' pay scales, and it's written up in a way that I'm never going to understand, so I'm happy that AI did a little summary for me. In New Zealand, registered nurses can expect to earn between $74,000 and $153,000. Remember, she said they're earning $110,000, okay? Just remember that. If you are an entry-level graduate registered nurse, $74,000 to $76,000. If you're an experienced registered nurse, $79,000 to $107,000. If you are a senior clinical nurse manager, $80,000 to $122,000. So it's not that nurses earn $110,000, it's that some nurses who are at a senior clinical manager level can, because notice what it says from 80. So some people in that position earn less than 100K, but some earn more. So can earn 110,000. So yes, some nurses can earn 110,000 with years of experience, management responsibilities, etc., etc., etc. That's very different from nurses earn $110,000. So you're not allowed to just put out there that these guys are on such a good wicket. And before you jump in, Chewie, because this is where I saw it, Wahiki, nurse here, finally making around 110K after 25 years experience, master's degree in a management role, in my opinion, not enough. I agree with you, Wahiki. That's why we're not saying that these people shouldn't be paid more. What we're saying is they're scapegoating you guys, you nurses, they're using you, they're lying about you to try and fund these board chairs for some reason. We don't know why they've been given a pay rise. Just, it sounds like because bloody, 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 trickle down, because bloody, 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 public sector, because bloody, 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 compete. You know what? You're not going to compete with the CEO or the board chair of ANZ Bank, who might do a day's work a month. It's not going to happen. So give us the details. And if you are going to give massive increases, and I got the story out to make sure I could show you guys, just so you knew. And it was one of the examples given. And of course, I've gone and put it somewhere. Here we go. RNZ. I'll bring it up. Hang on a second. On RNZ, Cabinet ministers defend hiking board fees for Crown bodies. Cabinet document quietly uploaded online on Monday. There you go. Didn't want to know too much about it. Shows ministers agreed to lift the maximum annual fee for chairs of governance boards from $90,000 to about $162,000. What work are these guys and girls doing? Show me. I want their stubs. I want to see them clocking in and clocking out. I want to know what my money's getting me, Chewie. And then the other thing, which you haven't had a chance to respond to yet, is no talk about Bill of Rights, which is possibly the biggest news story in New Zealand news, certainly political news at the moment. Certainly the biggest story involving Judith Collins. Ryan Bridge, we won't talk about that. And I'll say it again.
Just go.
I suspect, right, and I'd place a wager on this, that he got told you couldn't talk about it. She's only come on the understanding that wouldn't be talked about. Like I said, I wouldn't accept that interview. But what are your thoughts, Joey?
So last time we were talking about nurses' wages, and apparently they're all on $110,000 and driving around in yachts. I asked my sister, who's a nurse, and she's somewhere north of 90 grand and certainly south of 100 grand. And she said, look, I get that by sticking my hands up for every extra shift that I can handle. She works fucking hard for that money. And I think certainly here at the Otago Hospital, they're short-staffed. There's the hiring freeze that isn't a hiring freeze. I saw a story the other day that said the latest graduating class, only 60% got hired when it's usually 80%. So where do all those nurses go? Do they sit patiently and wait for a slot? No, they fuck off.
Hey, can I tell the people the story we heard on Friday night? So Chloe Swarbrick standing up the front talking to this group of supporters, perhaps, I guess, and they got asked, there was a question asked from the audience, and Chloe said, my best mate's retraining to be a nurse. And she said, they got asked in class the other day who will be planning on going to Australia, and 90% of the class put their hand up. Mm-hmm. So that's first-hand account. Well, I guess it's second-hand account because it goes from Chloe's mate to Chloe to us. So second-hand account of the people who are training in New Zealand right now to be nurses are not going, because we have to go. In training, whilst they're training, they're planning on leaving New Zealand to go to Australia. That's what our current system has got set up. That's the legacy of this government in the health system.
So, talking about how much nurses get paid, I want to talk about how the study is long and hard. The hours, the actual job when you get there, if you get there, the job has very long hours and is very hard. And the consequences for making a mistake at your job is someone could die, or you could lose your career. And we're talking about, what is it? A 3.5% pay rise?
Something like that.
And the government's saying no. But then Judith Collins happy to go on an interview and say, hey, look, man, nurses are valued. Do you know how you value nurses? You fucking pay them what they're worth. Whatever you can manage is still not going to be, in my opinion, what a nurse is worth. But we now have a very dangerous chain happening where we're training nurses to go overseas and then we're importing nurses from somewhere else. It's stupid and it's unsustainable. Like, the system is broken. But yet these guys can wave a wand and just across the board increase these pay rates for board chairs. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't an argument that those guys need more money. I'm just commenting purely on the ease and I guess the underhandedness of just sneaking it in there, that we're raising those wages while we tell nurses that they can't have what they think they're worth, while we're telling teachers that they're not worth what they're asking for, while we tell the police that they're not worth what they're asking for either. Yeah. And we just want to cruise on the fact that these guys want to do something good for their community, and that's great because they can do that in the absence of money.
Interesting, because what they're saying is the people like in the police and in the nursing and all that, they're because they're passionate about it. They're in it in part for the passion. Yet when it comes to the board chairs, it's only about the money. So she's literally saying, we've got to pay these people what they're worth. We have to increase these board chairs because it's all about the money. It's all about competing with the private sector. Yet for nurses, it's like, well, you know, they do it. You can't really pay a nurse what they're worth. We'll never get there. They're doing it for the love. It's like the opposite. No. Why don't you treat them both the same? Why can't the board chairs be doing it for the love? Or why can't the nurses be getting paid what the private sector would do and pay them what they're worth? You seem to be wanting to have your cake and eat it too.
And let's talk about those board chairs because, you know, as you said, one of the things is it's not a full-time job. A lot of responsibility, a lot of budget responsibility and that sort of thing, probably. But it is not their only gig a lot of the time. Like we talk about Levy, about how he's doing another job on the side and that sort of thing. You know, is this something that they do a couple of days a week and then they go to their other gig? So this governance board thing that they're doing is a side hustle, and maybe it's a hobby that they're interested in. You know, it's weird, you know, but it is not by any means a traditional job.